here are some of the routines that it uses. There's an initialize the SD card. Then there's a load to NVM, which will load a binary file to the non-volatile memory. There's a read NVM, which will read a row from non-volatile memory. So a row is a structure which is defined essentially by the a row is a structure defined by the NVM API, and a row is like something that can be written all at once. So you can read a whole row and you can write to a whole row. So in this case, we're going to read or write a whole row in each one of those routines. And this thing also checks the CRC to make sure it's valid. So here's sort of the walkthrough of the code. There's some initialization. There's something here called the serial console, which is something I wrote through the course. And that basically has a bunch of log messages, so you can log any message there as well as so you can write messages, and you can shut off all the messages if you want by changing the debug level. So there's configure NVM, get the parameters, enable interrupts, and so let's see what's going on here. So this first loop here, the first while loop, is just a delay that causes the LED to flash, and in that time you can hit the second button, and if you do, you'll load the code from the SD card, and if you don't, it'll go straight to the new application. Okay, so if after that delay, if the button is pressed, we'll initialize the SD card. We'll read the text file. That's read text version. Then we will load. We will start writing to the NVM. So we'll read a row of the binary file and write it to NVM. And so we're going to do that one after the other, and we're also going to get a CRC and check that. And if that is all, if each row is fine, then it'll say success. And if there's any failure, the CRC don't match, then you would get a status not good or failure. And then there's another test there, read NVM, which will read again the whole image that's loaded to check that the CRC is correct. And that version header stores the CRC. Okay, and then ultimately we jump to application, which is written right here, and that is we de-initialize the serial console, we de-initialize the SD card, and then we jump to the application. Jump to the application essentially has a few lines that are hard to understand. So we create the application code. This line gets the that sets the stack pointer to be at the address, at the start address. It resets the stack pointer, and this next line sets the vector table to be a little bit ahead of the stack pointer, so that will be the new vector table. And then this next line here essentially casts the start vector into the address of the start into a function, and that is now our application code, which is written up there. So that's a function, and now we call that function essentially jumping to the application. All right, I think we're ready to try.